Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Library. It's lovely to have you here. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from tonight? A quiet bedroom? A sleepy train ride? A cozy couch with a warm cup of tea? Wherever you are, I hope you're comfortable, safe, and ready to gently settle into thought. If you enjoy these relaxing explorations and would like to hear more, a like and subscribe really helps this sleepy little channel float along. And to those of you already subscribed, thank you. Truly, your support means more than you know. Tonight, we're going to drift gently upward, beyond the familiar blue sky, beyond the clouds and weather, beyond the comfortable weight of gravity itself, to visit humanity's home among the stars. A place that circles our world 16 times each day, moving at speeds that would carry you from New York to Tokyo in less than an hour. A place where sunrise comes every 90 minutes, where windows look down upon entire continents, where people from different nations work together in the most unusual office ever created. We're going to visit the International Space Station, and we'll take our time getting to know this remarkable floating laboratory. This testament to what humans can build when they work together towards something greater than themselves. So, tuck yourself in. Close your eyes if you'd like, and let's begin to explore this gentle giant of space, this home away from home that glides silently through the darkness above us, even as you listen to these words. Picture, if you will, November 20th, 1998. The steppes of Kazakhstan stretch endlessly under a cold winter sky. At the Baikonur Cosmodrome, one of humanity's oldest spaceports, a Proton rocket stands ready, its white body gleaming in the pale sunlight. Inside its protective fairing sits something remarkable. Not a satellite, not a probe, but the first piece of what will become the largest structure humans have ever assembled in space. The module is called Zarya, which means sunrise in Russian. A fitting name for what is truly a new dawn in space exploration. This isn't just any spacecraft. It's the beginning of a home, a laboratory, a testament to international cooperation that would have seemed impossible just a decade earlier. Zarya weighs 19,500 kilograms, stretches 12.6 meters in length, and measures 4 meters across. It's a cylinder of aluminum and steel, packed with batteries, propulsion systems, communications equipment, and solar panels carefully folded against its sides. As the countdown reaches 0, the Proton's engines ignite with a roar that echoes across the frozen landscape. Slowly at first, then with gathering speed, the rocket lifts away from Earth. 9 minutes later, Zarya is in orbit, separating from the rocket's upper stage and beginning its solo journey. Solar panels unfurl like golden wings. Antennas extend. Systems activate one by one, coming alive in the airless environment. And there, circling Earth every 90 minutes, the first piece of the International Space Station waits patiently for company. 2 weeks later, on December 4th, another launch, this time from a different continent entirely. At Kennedy Space Center in Florida, Space Shuttle Endeavour sits on its launch pad, the external tank massive beside it, solid rocket boosters ready to provide their tremendous thrust. In Endeavour's cargo bay, secured and protected, is Unity, the first American component of the station. Unity is different from Zarya. Where Zarya provides power and propulsion, Unity is designed to connect. It's a node, a junction, with 6 berthing ports positioned on its forward and aft ends, on its port and starboard sides, on its zenith, pointing toward space, and its nadir, pointing toward Earth. Built by Boeing at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, Unity is 4.57 meters in diameter and 5.47 meters long. Made of steel, it weighs 11,600 kilograms. But numbers only tell part of the story. Inside Unity are more than 50,000 mechanical items, 216 lines to carry fluids and gases, and 121 electrical cables using 6 miles of wire. It's an engineering masterpiece, designed to route essential resources, power, data, air, water, through its structure to supply other modules that will eventually connect to it. Attached to Unity's forward and aft ports are pressurized mating adapters, conical sections that allow different docking systems to work together. One adapter will mate with Zarya, the other will serve as a docking port for future shuttle missions. With these adapters in place, Unity and its attachments weigh about 11,600 kilograms, a considerable mass to carry into orbit. The shuttle launch is spectacular, as they always are. The solid rocket boosters provide their overwhelming thrust, shaking the ground for miles around. The main engines burn with focused intensity, drawing liquid hydrogen and oxygen from the massive external tank. Within minutes, Endeavour is above the atmosphere, accelerating toward orbital velocity. The solid boosters separate and parachute back to Earth for recovery. The external tank is jettisoned, tumbling away to re-enter and break apart over the ocean. And Endeavour, now in orbit, with Unity secured in its cargo bay, begins the careful ballet of rendezvous. 2 days after launch, on December 6th, Endeavour approaches Zarya. The shuttle's commander carefully maneuvers the craft, using small thruster bursts to match Zarya's orbit precisely. The distance closes slowly: 1 kilometer, 500 meters, 100 meters, 50. Finally, the shuttle is alongside Zarya, moving at exactly the same speed, as if both were stationary in the vast ocean of space. The Canadarm, the shuttle's robotic arm, reaches out. Its end, effector, essentially a hand, grasps a fixture on Zarya's exterior. Slowly, carefully, the arm draws Zarya toward the cargo bay, positioning it above Unity's waiting berthing mechanism. There's a gentle contact, and then the mechanisms engage. Bolts drive home, seals compress. And suddenly, these two pieces, launched from different continents, built by different nations, are one structure. Astronauts float between the shuttle and the newly joined modules, connecting cables, establishing power flows, ensuring that data can pass between the two. This moment, December 7th, 1998, marks the true beginning of the International Space Station. 2 modules, joined together, orbiting Earth as one. But these 2 modules alone cannot support human life for extended periods. They're a foundation, but foundations need to be built upon. For the next year and a half, Zarya and Unity orbit as a pair, waiting. Systems are tested. Controllers on Earth learn how to manage this new spacecraft. Adjustments are made, and plans continue for the next phase. In July 2000, another Proton rocket lifts off from Baikonur, carrying Zvezda, which means star in Russian. Zvezda is larger and more complex than Zarya. It weighs 24,000 kilograms and serves as the living quarters and life support center for what will eventually become a crewed station. Inside Zvezda are systems to generate oxygen, to remove carbon dioxide from the air, to purify water, to manage waste. There are sleeping compartments for the crew, a galley where food can be prepared, toilet facilities, communication systems. Zvezda is, in many ways, the heart of the station's Russian segment, the place where early crews will spend most of their time. Zvezda launches successfully and begins its own solo journey in orbit. Unlike Unity, which had to be positioned by the shuttle's arm, Zvezda is designed for automatic rendezvous and docking. It carries its own propulsion, guidance, and docking systems. Over several days, it approaches the Zarya-Unity combination, using radar and automated systems to match orbits, close the distance, and finally dock at Zarya's aft port. The docking is clean, precise, automatic. And now the station has 3 modules, enough to support human habitation. On October 31st, 2000, 3 people sit inside a Soyuz spacecraft at Baikonur. American astronaut William Shepard serves as commander. His crewmates are Russian cosmonauts Sergei Krikalev and Yuri Gidzenko. They've trained for years for this moment, learning each other's languages, practicing procedures, building the trust and camaraderie essential for living in space. As their Soyuz rocket lifts off, they're beginning something unprecedented. The first long-duration expedition to the International Space Station. The beginning of continuous human presence in space that continues to this day. 2 days later, on November 2nd, their Soyuz docks with the station. Hatches open, and for the first time, people float into the International Space Station intending to stay. They switch on lights, activate systems, and begin the work of turning this collection of modules into a home. Their mission will last 142 days, nearly 5 months. During that time, they'll commission systems, conduct experiments, maintain equipment, and learn what it means to live in this new environment. The station continues to grow, module by module, piece by piece. In February 2001, Space Shuttle Atlantis delivers Destiny, the United States' primary research laboratory. Destiny is 7.2 meters long and 4.3 meters in diameter, providing space for equipment racks where experiments can be conducted. It attaches to Unity's forward port, extending the station's length and expanding research capabilities. With Destiny in place, serious scientific work can begin. Research racks are installed, each one a standardized unit that can hold different experimental equipment. The station is starting to fulfill its purpose as a laboratory, a place where the unique environment of microgravity can reveal secrets about materials, physics, biology, and medicine. Over the following years, more modules arrive. The Quest airlock is added in 2001, providing a chamber where astronauts can put on spacesuits and depressurize before exiting for spacewalks. Quest has 2 functions. It allows spacewalks to happen without depressurizing larger modules, and it can store spacesuits, tools, and equipment needed for extravehicular activities. The station's truss structure is assembled segment by segment. Think of the truss as the station's backbone, a long framework of metal beams that runs perpendicular to the modules. The first piece, called Z1, was installed in 2000, providing a mounting point for communications equipment and serving as a temporary home for the control moment gyroscopes, spinning wheels that help orient the station without using propellant. The main truss grows outward from the station's center in both directions, port and starboard, left and right. Each segment is delivered by shuttle, captured by the station's robotic arm and carefully positioned and attached. The truss eventually stretches 108.4 meters from end to end, longer than a football field. Along its length are mounting points for solar arrays, thermal radiators, and equipment. The solar arrays, those golden panels that convert sunlight to electricity, are attached to the truss in pairs. Eventually, there will be 8 main arrays, providing enough power for all the station's systems and experiments. The solar arrays themselves are marvels of engineering. Each array consists of thousands of photovoltaic cells arranged on flexible blankets. These blankets can be rolled up for launch, then deployed in space, stretching out like enormous wings. Each array wing is 34 meters long and 12 meters wide. Together, the 8 arrays provide about 84 kilowatts of power under full sunlight, enough to power multiple houses on Earth. But solar panels only work when facing the sun, and the station orbits Earth rapidly, moving through sunlight and shadow every 90 minutes. To maximize power generation, each solar array is mounted on a rotating mechanism called the solar alpha rotary joint. As the station orbits, these joints rotate, keeping the arrays turned toward the sun. It's a continuous, gentle dance, these golden panels tracking the light source that powers everything aboard. Thermal control is equally vital. The station generates a considerable amount of heat from equipment, experiments, and the crew themselves. In space, there's no air to carry heat away through convection. The only way to reject heat is through radiation. The station uses ammonia as a heat transfer fluid. Pumps circulate ammonia through cooling loops inside the modules, picking up heat from the air. This warm ammonia then flows through pipes to large radiators mounted on the truss. These radiators, like the panels of a heat exchanger, release the heat as infrared radiation into space. It's a delicate balance, maintaining comfortable temperatures inside while managing the external temperature swings between sunlight and shadow. In 2008, a significant expansion occurs with the arrival of the European Columbus Laboratory. Built by the European Space Agency and delivered by Space Shuttle Atlantis, Columbus is 6.9 meters long and 4.5 meters in diameter. It attaches to the starboard side of the Harmony node, which had been installed the previous year. Columbus contains 10 equipment racks for experiments in biology, materials science, fluid physics, and more. Its addition represents Europe's major contribution to the station, a space where European scientists can conduct research in microgravity. Shortly after Columbus, in March 2008, the first component of the Japanese Kibo laboratory arrives. Kibo, which means hope in Japanese, is actually delivered in 3 parts over several shuttle missions. First comes the experiment logistics module, a storage unit. Then, the pressurized laboratory itself arrives in May 2008, the largest single module ever added to the station, 11 meters long and 4.4 meters in diameter. Finally, in July 2009, the exposed facility is attached, a platform outside the module where experiments can be placed directly in the vacuum of space. Kibo is special because of this external platform. While other modules conduct experiments inside pressurized environments, Kibo can expose materials, instruments, and experiments to the actual space environment, to vacuum, to direct sunlight and shadow, to the particle radiation that constantly sleeps through space. A robotic arm, specifically designed for Kibo, can move experiments from inside the pressurized module to the external platform, or retrieve them and bring them back inside. It's a unique capability that expands the range of research possible on the station. In February 2010, one of the most beloved additions arrives, the cupola. This dome-shaped module, built by the European Space Agency, is attached to the nadir port of the Tranquility node. The cupola is small, barely 2 meters in diameter, but its impact on the station and its crew is enormous. It features 7 windows, 6 arranged in a hexagon around a single central window that points directly down toward Earth. These aren't small portholes. The central window is 80 centimeters in diameter, the largest window ever built for space. Through these windows, astronauts have a panoramic view unmatched anywhere else on the station. The cupola serves practical purposes. It houses one of the workstations for controlling the Canadarm2, the station's main robotic arm. When spacecraft dock, operators in the cupola can watch the approach with their own eyes, not just through cameras. When astronauts conduct spacewalks, someone in the cupola can observe them directly, providing an extra set of eyes for safety. But beyond practicality, the cupola offers something profound: beauty. Astronauts spend their off-duty time here, floating in this small space, gazing down at Earth. They watch weather systems develop, clouds swirling in patterns that reveal the flow of atmosphere. They see lightning storms flashing inside thunderheads, each bolt a brief spark visible even from 240 miles up. They watch auroras, those shimmering curtains of light that form when solar wind particles strike Earth's magnetic field and excite oxygen and nitrogen in the upper atmosphere. Green, sometimes red, rarely violet, the auroras dance along the magnetic field lines near the poles, visible now from above, spreading across hundreds of kilometers. From the cupola, astronauts photograph Earth in a way that satellites cannot, with human choice and artistry. They might spend hours waiting for the perfect light, for that moment when sunset illuminates the Himalayas just so, or when city lights reveal the sprawl of Tokyo, or New York, or Paris. They capture glaciers carving into the sea, rivers winding through deserts, the geometric patterns of agricultural lands, the shocking orange of forest fires, the deep blue of coral reefs visible through clear tropical waters. More than 3.5 million photographs have been taken from the station over the years, most of them through the cupola's windows. These images form one of the longest continuous records of Earth's surface ever created, documenting changes in ice coverage, urban expansion, deforestation, the formation and tracks of hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, and countless other phenomena. They're scientifically valuable, yes, but they're also simply beautiful, reminders of the world we come from, seen in a way most humans never will. The station's assembly continues through the years. In 2011, the Space Shuttle makes its final flights, completing the American portion of the station's construction. One of these final flights delivers the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, a particle physics experiment mounted on the exterior of the station. The AMS studies cosmic rays, high-energy particles that zip through space, searching for evidence of dark matter and antimatter. It's one of the most sophisticated and expensive experiments ever placed in space, requiring constant power and data transmission, capabilities the station provides perfectly. With the shuttle's retirement, the station must rely on other vehicles for cargo delivery and crew transport. Russian Soyuz spacecraft continue to carry crews, 3 people at a time, launching from Baikonur and docking with the station 2 days later. Unmanned Progress cargo ships, also launched by Russia, bring supplies, fuel, and equipment. The European Space Agency develops the Automated Transfer Vehicle, a large spacecraft capable of carrying 7,500 kilograms of cargo and also providing propulsion to boost the station's orbit. Japan creates the H-2 transfer vehicle, another cargo carrier, and something new emerges: commercial spaceflight. NASA contracts with private companies to develop cargo services. SpaceX creates the Dragon spacecraft, which becomes the first commercial vehicle to dock with the station in 2012. Orbital Sciences, later known as Northrop Grumman Innovation Systems, develops the Cygnus spacecraft. These commercial vehicles take over much of the resupply duty, delivering food, equipment, spare parts, and scientific experiments on regular flights. Eventually, SpaceX develops a crewed version of Dragon, and in 2020, NASA astronauts Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken ride Dragon to the station, marking the return of American crew launches after a 9-year gap. Boeing is developing the Starliner, another commercial crew vehicle. The station has become not just a laboratory, but a destination, a place that multiple types of spacecraft from multiple countries and companies can visit. Let's pause here and consider what the station looks like now, after more than 2 decades of assembly and operation. From a distance, it resembles nothing so much as a complex metallic insect, its body formed by the row of cylindrical modules, its wings, the solar arrays stretching outward from the truss. Up close, the complexity becomes apparent. Modules connect at odd angles, each joint a pressurized tunnel where crew can float from one section to another. The golden solar panels dominate the view, each array slowly tracking the sun. Thermal radiators, white and rectangular, extend from the truss like fins. Communications antennas bristle from various points. Docked spacecraft, Soyuz and Progress, Dragon or Cygnus, attach at various ports, adding their own shapes to the overall structure. The station weighs approximately 420,000 kilograms. It stretches 109 meters end to end. Its pressurized volume, the space inside where crew can live and work without spacesuits, is about 1,000 cubic meters, roughly equivalent to a Boeing 747's interior. But unlike an airplane, where most space is open passenger cabin, the station is packed with equipment. Every surface has something attached or installed. The walls are covered with equipment racks, cables, handrails for maneuvering in microgravity, labels and warning signs. The floor and ceiling, concepts that barely apply in microgravity, are equally utilized. Storage is everywhere, bags and containers velcroed or bungeed to any available space. Living in this environment requires adjustment. On Earth, we're so accustomed to gravity that we barely think about it. Things stay where we put them. If we drop something, it falls. We can set down a cup and expect it to remain on the table. In space, none of this is true. Let go of an object and it floats. Set something down without securing it and it will drift away, potentially floating into equipment where it could cause damage, or into the path of a crew member who might inhale it. Imagine this. You're eating breakfast. Your food is in a package attached to a tray, the tray attached to your lap, or more accurately, to your waist, since there's no lap when you're floating. You open the package carefully, because crumbs are hazardous. Any loose particle can float into eyes, be inhaled into lungs, drift into equipment. You eat using a spoon attached to the tray with Velcro or magnets when you're not using it. Drinks come in pouches with straws. Pour a drink in microgravity and it forms a sphere held together by surface tension, floating through the air until it touches something. When it touches you, it might spread across your face, held by surface tension, requiring a towel to wipe away. This is why everything liquid is in closed containers. After eating, you clean up carefully. Food packages are compressed and placed in waste containers. Utensils are wiped clean. Crumbs, if any escaped, must be hunted down, often requiring floating through the module, searching corners and air vents, capturing them before they can cause problems. It might seem tedious, but it becomes routine, part of daily life. Personal hygiene is an adventure. Showers don't exist because water doesn't flow downward. Instead, you use a wet towel with liquid soap, wiping down your body in sections. Your skin might feel dry because humidity is kept low to prevent condensation, which could damage equipment. Hair washing requires rinseless shampoo, worked through with a small amount of water, then wiped away with a towel. Some astronauts keep their hair very short to simplify this process. The toilet, perhaps the most frequently asked about aspect of space station life, deserves explanation without embarrassment. It's a crucial system, and engineers have worked hard to make it functional. On Earth, gravity draws waste away from the body. In space, this doesn't happen. The station's toilet uses airflow instead. There's a small opening where you position yourself, using handholds and foot restraints for positioning. A fan creates suction, drawing waste away from the body into a collection system. Solid waste is deposited into bags, which are sealed and stored in containers that eventually return to Earth on cargo ships for disposal. Liquid waste is processed differently. Urine is collected and, remarkably, recycled. The water recovery system is one of the station's most important technologies. Astronauts need about 2.7 kilograms of water per day for drinking and food preparation. Carrying all that water from Earth would be impractical and expensive. Instead, the station recycles water from every available source. Urine is processed through distillation and filtration, emerging as pure water, cleaner than most tap water on Earth. Humidity condensed from the air is collected and purified. Sweat, exhaled breath, every bit of moisture is captured and reused. The system recovers about 93% of the water that comes aboard, dramatically reducing the amount that must be launched from Earth. Oxygen generation happens through electrolysis. Water is split into hydrogen and oxygen using electrical current. The oxygen is released into the air for breathing. The hydrogen is either vented outside or combined with carbon dioxide in a process that recovers more oxygen while producing water and methane. Carbon dioxide is removed from the air by chemical scrubbers that absorb it. These scrubbers must be periodically replaced or regenerated. The air aboard the station is carefully controlled. The composition is similar to Earth's atmosphere, about 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen, with the remainder made up of water vapor and trace gases. The pressure is maintained at about 100 kilopascals, slightly below sea level pressure on Earth, but comfortable for the crew. Temperature is kept between 18 and 27 degrees Celsius, adjustable based on crew preference. Humidity is controlled to prevent condensation while keeping the air comfortable. But maintaining this artificial environment requires constant attention. Pumps fail and need replacement. Filters clog and need changing. Sensors drift and require calibration. Fans break. Seals leak. The station, for all its sophistication, is a machine, and machines need maintenance. A significant portion of each crew member's week is devoted to upkeep, replacing air filters, cleaning water processing equipment, checking pressure seals, updating software, inspecting equipment for wear or damage. Some maintenance requires spacewalks. Perhaps a camera has failed and needs replacement. Maybe a battery pack on the exterior has reached the end of its service life. Possibly new equipment needs installation. When these tasks can't be done remotely or from inside, crew members suit up and venture outside. Preparing for a spacewalk is a major undertaking. The suits themselves are complex spacecraft in miniature. Each suit provides oxygen, removes carbon dioxide, controls temperature, maintains pressure, protects from micrometeoroids and radiation, and provides communication. The suits are modular, with different size components for different astronauts, but they're inherently bulky and restrict movement. The gloves are thick, making fine motor tasks difficult. Just putting on the suit takes time and requires assistance. Before exiting, astronauts pre-breathe pure oxygen for hours. The suits operate at lower pressure than the station's interior, and nitrogen dissolved in the body's tissues can form bubbles during this pressure transition, causing decompression sickness, the same conditions scuba divers experience if they ascend too quickly. Breathing pure oxygen helps purge nitrogen from the system, reducing this risk. Once suited, astronauts enter the Quest airlock. The inner hatch closes behind them. Gradually, the airlock is depressurized, pumping the air back into the station to be reused. When the pressure reaches zero, matching the vacuum outside, the outer hatch can be opened. And there, stepping out of that hatch, astronauts find themselves in an environment that is utterly hostile to human life, separated from instant unconsciousness by just a thin layer of fabric and technology. The view during a spacewalk is indescribable. The station sprawls around you, modules and trusses and solar panels forming a landscape of metal and gold. One direction shows Earth, filling half the visible universe, clouds and continents and oceans slowly turning. The other direction opens onto the black of deep space, stars brilliant and unwinking, the Milky Way visible as a river of light. The sun, when it rises every 45 minutes, blazes with an intensity never seen through atmosphere, bright enough to damage eyes if you look directly at it. And yet, for all this grandeur, the work requires total concentration. You might be replacing a battery, a task that requires disconnecting electrical cables, removing mounting bolts, extracting the old unit, installing the new one, reconnecting everything, all while your thick gloves make it difficult to feel what you're doing, and the suit's pressure requires constant effort to flex your hands. Or you might be installing equipment, guiding it into position using the station's robotic arm, while a crewmate operates controls from inside. Or you might be routing cables along the truss, securing them with ties, ensuring they won't snag or interfere with moving parts. Spacewalks typically last 6 to 7 hours, sometimes longer. It's physically exhausting work. Your hands ache from constantly flexing against the suit's pressure. Your shoulders hurt from reaching and working in unusual positions. You might not have eaten much beforehand because there's no bathroom in a spacesuit, though it does have a system for drinking water. By the end, you're ready to return inside, to doff the suit, to float in the cool air of the station and recover. But even after the most exhausting spacewalk, even after the longest day of work, astronauts often find time to drift to the cupola, to float there in the darkness, watching Earth turn beneath them. And it's in these quiet moments that the full weight of where they are settles over them. They're looking down at the entire world, at every place anyone has ever lived, every mountain ever climbed, every ocean ever sailed, every city where lights twinkle in the darkness. From this vantage, Earth looks peaceful. There are no visible borders. The atmosphere, which seems so vast and endless when you're standing on the surface, appears from here as the thinnest layer of blue, a fragile shell barely noticeable against the planet's curvature. It's so thin, this layer that contains all breathable air, all weather, all clouds and wind. Seeing it from above makes its vulnerability obvious. And many astronauts return from space with a changed perspective, a deeper environmental consciousness, a conviction that we must take better care of this planet, because from up here, it's heartbreakingly clear that it's the only home we have. This shift in perspective is sometimes called the overview effect, a term coined to describe the cognitive shift that occurs when seeing Earth from space. Astronauts speak about experiencing a profound sense of connection to everyone on the planet, a realization that all of humanity shares the same small world. Political conflicts seem petty when viewed from this perspective. National borders, so important on maps and in politics, are invisible from orbit. The distinctions we make between us and them seem arbitrary and ultimately meaningless. There's a famous quotation from astronaut Ron Garan, who spent time aboard the station. "When I first looked back at the Earth, standing on the moon, I cried." Actually, that's Neil Armstrong misquoted. Let me correct that. Ron Garan said something else entirely about seeing Earth from the ISS. When we look down at the Earth from space, we see this amazing, indescribably beautiful planet. It looks like a living, breathing organism. But it also, at the same time, looks extremely fragile. The station has hosted crew members from more than 20 countries. Though the primary partners remain the United States, Russia, Canada, Japan, and the nations of the European Space Agency, astronauts and cosmonauts from many other nations have visited. Italy, Germany, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, Spain, Sweden, Denmark, the United Kingdom, Kazakhstan, Brazil, Malaysia, South Korea, and the United Arab Emirates have all sent people to the station. Each visitor brings their own perspective, their own language and culture, their own hopes and dreams. This diversity is intentional and valuable. The station is designed to foster international cooperation, to prove that people from different backgrounds can work together effectively toward common goals. The crew learns each other's languages. Americans learn Russian, Russians learn English. When Japanese astronauts arrive, others learn enough Japanese to communicate basic concepts. Meals are shared, with astronauts bringing food from their countries. American Thanksgiving is celebrated aboard, as is Russian Orthodox Christmas, Japanese New Year celebrations, and holidays from across the participating nations. There are challenges, of course. Language barriers can cause misunderstandings. Cultural differences in communication styles can lead to confusion. Americans might be more direct in their communication, while Japanese culture values indirect suggestion. Russians have their own communication norms shaped by their culture and history. But the crews work through these differences, building mutual respect and genuine friendship. By the end of a mission, crew members often speak about their colleagues as family, bonded by the unique experience of living together in this extraordinary place. The daily schedule aboard the station is precisely planned. Controllers on the ground prepare timeline schedules that allocate time in 5-minute increments. Every activity has its slot: exercise, meals, experiment operations, maintenance, conferences with ground controllers, personal time, sleep. This level of scheduling might seem oppressive, but it's necessary. With only so many hours in a day and so much work to accomplish, efficiency is essential. A typical day begins at 6 in the morning, Greenwich Mean Time. The station operates on GMT, regardless of where it is in its orbit, providing consistency and coordination with ground control centers around the world. Crew members wake to an alarm, or sometimes to a personalized wake-up call, a song chosen by family members sent up from mission control. After waking, astronauts perform their morning routine, visiting the toilet, washing with wet towels and rinseless shampoo, checking the daily schedule on laptop computers. Then comes breakfast, often taken together in the Unity module or the Russian Zvezda module, where there's more space for gathering. Morning conferences with mission control follow breakfast, discussing the day's activities, reviewing procedures for experiments or maintenance tasks, addressing any questions or concerns. Then the workday begins in earnest. Some crew members head to the laboratories to set up experiments or collect data. Others tackle maintenance tasks. Someone might be troubleshooting a malfunctioning piece of equipment, working with engineers on the ground to diagnose and fix the problem. Midday brings lunch, another opportunity for the crew to gather, to share a meal and conversation. The food has improved dramatically from the early days of space exploration. There are more than 300 different menu items available, ranging from entrees like chicken teriyaki or beef stew, to sides like rice and vegetables, to desserts like brownies or cookies. Some items are thermostabilized, sealed in pouches that can be heated. Others are freeze-dried, requiring the addition of hot or cold water. Still others can be eaten as is: nuts, dried fruits, tortillas. Fresh fruits and vegetables arrive with resupply ships and are eaten quickly before they spoil, a special treat after weeks of preserved food. After lunch, work continues through the afternoon. Around 5 o'clock comes the daily planning conference, where the crew and ground controllers review how the day's activities went, discuss any issues, and confirm plans for the following day. Then comes dinner, followed by some personal time. Personal time is precious. Astronauts can use it however they wish. Some exercise beyond the required 2 hours, enjoying the challenge of pushing themselves physically. Some read books, either physical copies brought from Earth or electronic versions on tablets. Some watch movies or television shows. Some play musical instruments, guitars, keyboards, even a didgeridoo have been aboard the station. Some simply float in the cupola, watching Earth turn beneath them, taking photographs or just absorbing the view. Communication with family is possible through video calls, scheduled in advance. These calls are vitally important for maintaining emotional well-being. Being away from loved ones for 6 months is difficult. Missing birthdays, anniversaries, your child's first steps or words, watching them grow up through video calls, it requires emotional resilience. The station's internet connection, when available, allows email and even social media. Astronauts post photos and videos, sharing their experience with the world, making space feel just a little bit closer. Around 9:30 in the evening, crew members begin preparing for sleep. They float to their sleeping quarters, small compartments about the size of a phone booth, located in various modules. Each compartment has a sleeping bag attached to the wall, a laptop for personal use, a light, some personal items. The sleeping bags are loose enough to be comfortable, but snug enough to provide a sense of containment that many find comforting. Without the pressure of a mattress, without the weight of blankets, sleep in microgravity feels different. Some astronauts love it, finding it incredibly comfortable. Others take weeks to adjust, missing the familiar sensation of lying down. The station is noisy at night. Fans run constantly, circulating air to prevent carbon dioxide bubbles from forming around sleeping astronauts. Equipment hums and whirs. The structure itself creaks and groans as it flexes with temperature changes, as it passes through sunlight and shadow. Some crew members use earplugs. Others adapt to the noise, finding it reassuring, a reminder that the systems keeping them alive are functioning properly. And through the night, as the crew sleeps, the station continues its orbit. Every 90 minutes, another sunrise, another sunset. Earth turns beneath, showing deserts and oceans, cities and forests, day and night. The solar arrays track the sun, generating power. The thermal radiators glow with infrared radiation, shedding heat into space. The station is never truly silent, never truly still. It's alive with the constant activity of its systems, alive with the presence of the people sleeping within its metal walls, alive with purpose and potential. The science conducted aboard the station is remarkable in its breadth and impact. The microgravity environment allows experiments that simply cannot be performed on Earth. Take protein crystal growth, for example. Proteins are fundamental to life, involved in virtually every biological process. Understanding a protein's three-dimensional structure helps scientists understand how it functions and how it might be targeted by drugs. To determine structure, scientists often grow protein crystals and analyze them using X-ray crystallography. On Earth, growing high-quality protein crystals is challenging. Gravity causes convection currents in the solution, creating imperfections in the growing crystals. Heavier molecules sink, lighter ones rise, creating non-uniform conditions. In microgravity, these convection currents don't exist. Crystals can grow larger, more perfectly ordered, revealing structural details impossible to see in Earth-grown samples. The station has hosted numerous protein crystal growth experiments. Some have led to new drug developments. For instance, research on proteins related to muscular dystrophy has informed treatment approaches. Studies of cancer-related proteins have suggested new targets for therapies. The ability to grow these high-quality crystals in space provides a tool that Earth-based facilities cannot match. Materials science benefits similarly from microgravity. When metals cool and solidify on Earth, gravity causes denser components to sink and lighter ones to rise, creating non-uniform alloys. In space, this separation doesn't occur. Researchers can create new metal alloys with properties unattainable on Earth, study the fundamental physics of solidification, understand how atoms arrange themselves during phase transitions. Fluid physics research reveals phenomena hidden by gravity. On Earth, hot fluids rise and cool fluids sink, creating convection. In microgravity, convection from temperature differences doesn't exist, though other forces, like surface tension, become dominant. Understanding these behaviors helps design better fuel tanks for spacecraft, improves industrial processes on Earth, and reveals fundamental physics. Combustion research in microgravity has discovered cool flames, a type of fire that burns at lower temperatures and would be quickly extinguished by convection on Earth. In space, without that convection, cool flames persist, allowing scientists to study their chemistry. This research may lead to more efficient engines, cleaner combustion, and new approaches to fire safety. Biology experiments examine how living organisms respond to microgravity. Plants aboard the station grow without a clear sense of up or down, their roots exploring in all directions before eventually orienting based on light or other cues. Studies of these plants help us understand how gravity sensing works at a cellular level. They also inform techniques for growing food in space, essential for future long-duration missions to Mars or permanent lunar bases. Bacteria and other microorganisms behave differently in microgravity. Some become more virulent, more resistant to antibiotics. Understanding these changes helps us combat infections both in space and on Earth. Tissue samples and organ models grown in microgravity provide insights into disease processes, aging, and potential treatments. The station itself is an experiment in long-duration spaceflight. Every crew member participates in medical studies examining how extended time in microgravity affects the human body. Bone density measurements reveal how quickly bone mass is lost without gravity's constant loading. Muscle measurements show atrophy rates. Vision tests document changes in eye shape and function. Cardiovascular studies examine how the heart adapts. Psychological assessments monitor mental health and crew dynamics. This research is directly applicable to future exploration. Before we send humans to Mars on journeys lasting years, we need to understand how to keep them healthy. The station provides that understanding. We've learned that exercise is crucial, that at least 2 hours per day of resistance and aerobic training can significantly reduce muscle and bone loss, though it can't prevent it entirely. We've learned that radiation exposure in space is higher than expected, requiring better shielding for future spacecraft. We've learned that isolation and confinement affect people in complex ways, that crew selection and training are just as important as technical capabilities. The station has also become a platform for Earth observation. From its vantage point, it sees the planet with clarity impossible from the surface. Astronauts photograph hurricanes as they develop, tracking their evolution from tropical disturbances to major storms. They document volcanic eruptions, capturing ash plumes spreading across regions. They observe forest fires, oil spills, glacial changes, urban growth. These observations complement satellite data, providing high-resolution images with human judgment behind the camera. There's an experiment called ISS RapidScat that measured ocean wind speeds, helping improve weather forecasts and climate models. The station has hosted Earth-observing instruments studying atmospheric chemistry, vegetation health, ocean color. Each of these contributes to our understanding of our planet, how it works as a system, how human activities affect it, how it might change in the future. And then there's the alpha magnetic spectrometer, perhaps the most sophisticated particle physics experiment ever flown in space. Mounted on the outside of the station, the AMS studies cosmic rays, high-energy particles from outside our solar system. It's searching for evidence of dark matter, the mysterious substance that makes up most of the universe's mass but doesn't interact with light. It's looking for antimatter, trying to understand why the universe seems to contain so much more matter than antimatter. The AMS has collected data on hundreds of billions of cosmic ray particles, providing insights into the most fundamental questions in physics. The station's orbit takes it over most of the inhabited world, passing over regions between 51.6 degrees north and south latitude. This inclination, chosen as a compromise between American and Russian launch sites, means the station crosses over different parts of Earth at different times. If you're patient and know when to look, you can see it from the ground. It appears as a bright point of light, brighter than most stars, moving steadily across the sky. It doesn't blink like an airplane. It doesn't trail like a meteor. It moves smoothly, taking several minutes to cross from horizon to horizon, reflecting sunlight off its solar arrays, even after sunset on the ground. Seeing the station from Earth creates a connection, a tangible reminder that people are up there, living and working. Websites and apps provide predictions for when the station will be visible from your location. The best viewing times are just after sunset or before sunrise, when the sky is dark but the station is still in sunlight. During these passes, the station can be the third brightest object in the sky after the sun and moon, easily visible even from light-polluted cities. The station's future is a topic of ongoing discussion. Nothing lasts forever, and the station's components age. Some systems are reaching the end of their design life. The oldest modules have been in space for more than 25 years. Metal fatigues, seals degrade, electronics fail. While repairs and upgrades continue, eventually the cost and risk of maintaining the aging station will exceed the benefits of keeping it operational. Current plans suggest the station may be operated through the late 2020s or early 2030s. When that time comes, the station will be carefully deorbited, commanded to re-enter Earth's atmosphere over a remote area of the Pacific Ocean. Most of the structure will burn up during re-entry, heating to thousands of degrees as it plows through the thickening atmosphere at orbital velocity. Whatever survives will splash down in the ocean, far from any shipping lanes or land masses. It will be a sad end to this remarkable structure, but a safe one, ensuring that no pieces fall on inhabited areas. But the end of this particular station doesn't mean the end of human presence in low Earth orbit. Commercial space stations are already being planned. Axiom Space is developing modules that will initially attach to the ISS, then separate to form an independent station. Blue Origin and Northrop Grumman are developing concepts for other commercial stations. These facilities will continue the research, the international cooperation, the human presence in space that the ISS pioneered. And beyond low Earth orbit, attention turns to the Moon and Mars. NASA's Artemis program aims to establish a permanent presence on the lunar surface. The lessons learned from the ISS about life support, about crew psychology, about international cooperation, all of these will inform the lunar station and eventual Mars missions. The ISS has been, in many ways, a proving ground for deep space exploration, the place where we've learned to live off Earth, even if only a few hundred miles up. As you drift towards sleep tonight, perhaps you can take comfort in knowing that the station is up there, circling above you. Right now, as you hear these words, it might be passing over your continent, or approaching it, or moving away. The crew might be sleeping, secured in their compartments, dreaming dreams we can only imagine. They might be working, conducting experiments, maintaining systems, keeping this complex machine operating smoothly. They might be exercising, fighting against the muscle and bone loss that comes with living in microgravity. Or they might be floating in the cupola, watching Earth turn beneath them, perhaps taking photographs, perhaps just absorbing the view, storing the memory of this extraordinary experience. In a few hours, they'll witness 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets. They'll orbit Earth 16 times. They'll pass over oceans and continents, deserts and forests, cities glowing in the night, aurora dancing near the poles. And through it all, they'll be doing work that benefits everyone on Earth. Research that advances human knowledge, experiments that may lead to new medicines or materials, or simply deeper understanding of how the universe works. The International Space Station is many things. It's a laboratory where scientists probe the mysteries of matter and life. It's a home where people from different nations live and work together. It's a workshop where technology is tested and refined. It's a classroom where students worldwide learn about space and science. It's a diplomatic achievement, proof that international cooperation can succeed even in the most complex endeavors. It's an inspiration, showing us what we can accomplish when we work together toward common goals. But perhaps most profoundly, the station is a reminder of our potential. When we set aside differences, when we focus on shared goals, when we invest in knowledge and exploration and the future, we can create something truly remarkable. We've built a home in space. We've kept people alive and productive there for more than a quarter century. We've conducted research that would be impossible anywhere else. We've inspired generations to pursue science and engineering and exploration. And all of this circles above us right now, traveling at 5 miles per second, orbiting Earth every 90 minutes, passing through 16 days and nights compressed into one. It's up there, real and solid and inhabited, a bright point of light that sometimes graces our evening skies. A home away from home where humans work and sleep and dream, where they push the boundaries of knowledge and demonstrate the best of what our species can achieve. Thank you for drifting through this story with me tonight. Whether you're still awake, drowsy, or already halfway into dreams, we've traveled together through the history and reality of this remarkable place. We've watched it grow from 2 modules to 16, from a concept to a functioning home. We've learned how people live there, what they eat and how they sleep, how they work and exercise and maintain this complex machine. We've seen the science they conduct and the photographs they take. We've glimpsed, however briefly, what it means to live in space. You don't need to remember every detail, every module name, every date. What matters is the feeling, the sense of wonder and possibility, the knowledge that humans have built something extraordinary above our world. We've created a place where people from different nations work side by side. We've established a continuous presence off our planet. We've proven that space doesn't have to divide us, but can unite us toward common purpose. And now, it's time to let these thoughts settle, like dust in still air, gentle and quiet. Time to release the day and its concerns. You've done enough today. You've listened and learned, and let your imagination drift upward to that remarkable place circling above. That's enough. More than enough. So close your eyes if they're not closed already. Feel yourself here, safe and comfortable. Feel the rhythm of your breathing, slow and steady. Feel the weight of your body, supported and secure. And know that while you rest, the station continues its endless orbit, and the crew continues their work, and Earth continues to turn beneath them all. You are here. You are safe. You are exactly where you need to be. And somewhere above, moving faster than thought, that bright point of light continues its journey, carrying people and dreams and the hope that we can build a future worth reaching for, together. From the sleepy library, good night. May your dreams be peaceful and your rest be deep. May you wake refreshed, remembering that humanity has built a home among the stars, and it's still there, still circling, still calling us upward toward the infinite possibilities that await. Sleep well, dear listener. Sleep well. Imagine, if you will, a structure larger than a 6-bedroom house, but instead of resting on solid ground, it floats 240 miles above your head, traveling at 17,500 miles per hour. That's the International Space Station, a place that defies so many of our everyday expectations about what a home should be. It weighs approximately 420,000 kilograms, more than the weight of 320 cars, yet it glides through space with the grace of a leaf on water. The station stretches 109 meters from end to end, just shy of the length of an American football field. If you could walk its length, you'd pass through module after module, each one a cylinder of controlled atmosphere, each one a small world unto itself. Its solar array wingspan extends 356 feet, longer than the wings of the largest passenger aircraft ever built. These golden panels catch sunlight and transform it into electrical power, the lifeblood that keeps every system humming, every light glowing, every experiment running. But numbers, while impressive, don't quite capture the poetry of this place. The International Space Station is more than measurements and statistics. It's a home where people eat breakfast while watching the Earth spin beneath them. It's a laboratory where scientists study how flames behave without gravity to pull them upward. It's a window through which astronauts have taken more than 3.5 million photographs of our planet, capturing hurricanes, auroras, cities at night, and the delicate thread of atmosphere that separates life from the void. The story of how this place came to be is worth telling slowly, because it's a story that spans decades, crosses borders, and bridges the gap between former adversaries. In the early 1980s, President Ronald Reagan directed NASA to build an international space station within a decade. It was an ambitious dream, perhaps even an audacious one. At the time, the United States was still in the Cold War, and the idea that nations might work together on something so complex seemed almost as unlikely as the station itself. But times change, and so do relationships between nations. By 1993, something remarkable happened. The United States invited Russia to join the project. This wasn't just about sharing costs or combining expertise, though both were important. It was about building bridges in space that might help strengthen bridges on Earth. Russia brought decades of experience with long-duration spaceflight, having operated the Mir space station and its predecessors. They brought knowledge about how to keep humans alive in orbit for months at a time, how to manage the psychological challenges of isolation, how to maintain equipment in the harsh environment of space. Canada contributed its expertise in robotics, creating the Canadarm2, a 55-foot robotic arm with 7 joints and the ability to move entire modules, position equipment, and even transport astronauts during spacewalks. Japan and the European Space Agency brought their own modules and expertise, their own dreams of exploration and discovery. 15 countries in all came together, each contributing pieces of this orbital puzzle. On November 20th, 1998, the first piece of this grand vision launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The Russian Zarya module thundered into the cold, wintry sky atop a Proton rocket. Zarya, which means sunrise in Russian, was a fitting name for the beginning of this new era. 9 minutes after launch, it was in orbit, unfurling its antennas and solar panels, coming alive in the airless environment of low Earth orbit. 2 weeks later, on December 4th, the Space Shuttle Endeavour lifted off from Kennedy Space Center in Florida, carrying the Unity module in its cargo bay. Unity was the first American component, built by Boeing at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. 2 days after launch, Endeavour rendezvoused with Zarya, and using the shuttle's robotic arm, astronauts carefully mated the two modules together. It was the beginning of construction, the first two pieces of what would eventually become the largest structure ever assembled in space. Over the next 13 years, the station grew piece by piece, module by module. There were 42 assembly flights in total, 37 on American space shuttles, and 5 on Russian rockets. Each flight brought new capabilities, new living space, new laboratories. Some modules were launched already pressurized, ready to be connected. Others were added during spacewalks, with astronauts working in the vacuum of space to bolt and wire and seal. Imagine the complexity of this construction project. There are no cranes in space, no scaffolding, no solid ground on which to stand. Everything had to be designed to be assembled by people in bulky spacesuits or manipulated by robotic arms controlled from inside the station. Every connector, every bolt, every seal had to work perfectly the first time, because there's no hardware store in orbit. Every piece had to be tested and retested on Earth, simulated in underwater tanks where astronauts could practice in conditions that mimicked the weightlessness of space. The station continued to grow through the years. The Russian Zvezda module, which means star, was added in September 2000, providing life support systems and living quarters. The Destiny Laboratory gave American researchers a place to conduct experiments in microgravity. The Italian-built Leonardo module became a permanent storage facility. Japan contributed the Kibo Laboratory, with its unique external platform where experiments could be exposed directly to the vacuum of space. The European Space Agency added the Columbus Laboratory, expanding research capabilities even further. And then there was the cupola, perhaps one of the most beloved additions to the station. Installed in February 2010, this dome-shaped module features 7 windows, 6 arranged in a hexagon around a single central window that faces directly down toward Earth. It's the largest window ever built for space, offering a panoramic view that astronauts describe as breathtaking, humbling, and profoundly moving. By November 2, 2000, the station was ready to welcome its first long-term residents. 3 people, American astronaut William Shepard and Russian cosmonauts Sergei Krikalev and Yuri Gidzenko, launched from Baikonur and docked with the station 2 days later. They opened the hatch, floated inside, and switched on the lights. From that day forward, the International Space Station has never been empty. Not for a single day in more than 25 years. Crews have come and gone, launching from Earth and returning months later. But the station itself has remained continuously occupied, a permanent human presence in space. Think about that for a moment. There are people living above you right now, even as you listen to these words. 7 people, typically, though sometimes more during crew handovers. They're orbiting Earth 16 times each day, experiencing sunrise and sunset with a frequency that seems almost magical. They're conducting experiments, maintaining equipment, exercising to keep their muscles and bones strong, and occasionally glancing out those magnificent windows to watch the world turn beneath them. The station's orbit takes it over 90% of Earth's population. It passes over continents and oceans, cities and wilderness, day and night. Its altitude varies slightly, but it typically hovers around 400 kilometers above the surface, just high enough to be above most of the atmosphere's drag, but low enough that Earth still fills the windows with its presence. At this altitude, moving at this speed, the station completes one full orbit every 90 minutes. Think about what that means. Every 45 minutes, the sun appears on the horizon, rising in that way that makes photographers and poets reach for words that always feel inadequate. The darkness gives way to a thin blue line of atmosphere, then gold, then the full brilliance of daylight. And 45 minutes later, it happens in reverse. The sun sets, darkness returns, and Earth below transforms into a canvas of lights, cities glowing like constellations brought down from the sky. Astronauts often speak about this rhythm, this fast pulse of day and night that becomes the heartbeat of their time in space. Some find it disorienting at first. After all, we evolved under a 24-hour cycle of light and dark. Our bodies, our brains, our very cells are tuned to that rhythm. But here, that rhythm is compressed, accelerated, turned into something new. Yet humans, adaptable as always, learn to adjust. They follow strict schedules aligned with Earth time, using artificial light and darkness to maintain their circadian rhythms. They wear sleep masks and use earplugs to block out the constant hum of fans and equipment. And gradually, they find their rhythm in this place that moves through 16 days and nights in the span of one. From the outside, the International Space Station doesn't look quite like the sleek spacecraft of science fiction. It's more industrial, more functional, more honestly itself. The main structure consists of modules, pressurized cylinders where people can live and work in a shirt-sleeve environment. These are connected by nodes, smaller modules that serve as junctions, places where different sections meet. Running along the central axis is the integrated truss structure, a long spine of metal framework that supports the solar arrays and thermal radiators. The solar arrays themselves are beautiful in their own right. 8 main arrays in total, each consisting of thousands of photovoltaic cells that convert sunlight into electricity. These arrays rotate to track the sun as the station orbits, always turning their faces toward the light. Together, they generate enough power to run a small neighborhood, about 84 kilowatts under full illumination. This power runs everything, from the life support systems that scrub carbon dioxide from the air and generate fresh oxygen, to the computers that monitor and control hundreds of systems, to the scientific instruments that peer outward at the universe or inward at the behavior of matter in microgravity. The thermal control system is equally impressive, though less visible. Space is cold, but it's also empty, and in a vacuum, the only way to shed heat is through radiation. The station generates a lot of heat from all its equipment, from the people living aboard, from the sunlight striking its surfaces. To manage this, ammonia flows through a network of tubes and radiators, carrying heat away from the modules and releasing it into space. It's a delicate balance, keeping the interior comfortable while the exterior swings between the extreme cold of shadow and the intense heat of direct sunlight. Inside, the station is crowded but organized. Equipment lines every surface, velcroed in place or secured in racks. There's no up or down in microgravity, so storage can be anywhere, including what would be the ceiling or floor on Earth. Cables run everywhere, connecting systems, carrying power and data. Fans hum constantly, circulating air that would otherwise pool in stagnant bubbles around each person. It's noisy, actually. Some astronauts compare it to living inside a giant vacuum cleaner, a constant background drone that becomes almost comforting after a while, the sound of life support systems keeping you alive. The modules have different purposes. The Russian Zvezda module contains living quarters, a galley where food is prepared, and the toilet facilities. The American Destiny Laboratory houses racks of scientific equipment. The Japanese Kibo module has both an interior laboratory and an external platform where experiments can be exposed to space. The European Columbus Laboratory adds even more research capacity. And then there's the Tranquility module, which contains the advanced life support systems and, attached to its bottom, the cupola with those magnificent windows. Each crew member has a private sleeping compartment, roughly the size of a phone booth. It's small, but it's theirs. A place to close a door, or rather, a privacy curtain, and have a moment of solitude. Inside, there's a sleeping bag attached to the wall to keep them from floating around. There's a laptop for personal communication with family, for watching movies, for writing emails. There's a light, some storage for personal items, maybe a few family photos stuck to the wall. Sleep in space is strange. Without gravity, you don't feel the pressure of a mattress against your back. You float in your sleeping bag, weightless, and if you're not secured, you might drift during the night, bumping gently against walls or equipment. Some astronauts say it's the most comfortable sleep they've ever had, with no pressure points, no need to shift position. Others find it takes time to adjust, to trust that floating is safe, that you won't drift away. The station operates on coordinated universal time, regardless of where it happens to be in its orbit. Schedules are planned down to 5-minute increments. Wake-up time, exercise time, meal times, work periods, personal time, sleep time, everything is structured. It has to be. With limited hours in the day and so much work to be done, with experiments running on schedules dictated by research protocols, with maintenance tasks that can't be postponed, efficiency is essential. Mornings on the station begin with an alarm, or sometimes with a personalized wake-up call, a song or message from loved ones on Earth. Astronauts float out of their sleeping compartments and begin their morning routine. Hygiene in space is its own adventure. There are no showers, so bathing means using a wet towel with soap, wiping down your body in sections. Hair is washed with rinseless shampoo, the kind originally developed for hospital patients who couldn't get out of bed. A little water, work it through your hair, wipe it out with a towel. Brushing teeth is similar to Earth, but you can't spit into a sink because there's no down for the water to drain. Instead, you either swallow the toothpaste or spit it into a towel. Shaving requires extra care. Water beads up due to surface tension, sticking to your face. Cream stays where you put it. The razor collects stubble and cream, which you wipe onto a towel carefully because you don't want hair floating around the station, potentially clogging air filters or getting into equipment. Many male astronauts grow beards simply because it's easier. The toilet on the station is perhaps the most frequently asked question about life in space, and it's worth addressing with the straightforward honesty it deserves. On Earth, gravity helps waste fall away from your body. In space, that doesn't happen. The toilet uses airflow instead, a gentle suction that draws waste away. For solid waste, you position yourself carefully over a small opening, about the size of a grapefruit, using handles and foot restraints to hold yourself in place. The airflow carries waste into a container, which is later compressed and stored for eventual disposal. For liquid waste, a separate system uses a hose with a funnel attachment. Again, airflow provides the necessary suction. It's not elegant, and it takes some practice to use effectively, but it works. And perhaps there's something almost profound in the fact that even in space, even in this high-tech marvel of engineering, humans still face the same basic biological needs as always. We still eat, still sleep, still use the bathroom. The context may change, but our fundamental nature remains. Food in space has evolved dramatically from the early days of space exploration. The first astronauts ate from tubes and consumed bite-sized cubes, foods that were nutritious but not particularly appetizing. Now, the station's menu includes more than 300 different items. There are entrees like chicken teriyaki, macaroni and cheese, shrimp cocktail. There are side dishes, vegetables, fruits that can be stored at room temperature. There are desserts, brownies and cookies. There are condiments, salt and pepper in liquid form because granules would float away. Most food is preserved through freeze-drying, thermostabilization, or vacuum packaging. Some can be eaten as is. Others require adding hot or cold water from the station's dispenser. Everything is packaged carefully to minimize crumbs and prevent spills. Crumbs are more than just messy in microgravity. They can float into eyes, be inhaled into lungs, or drift into sensitive equipment. Meals are taken in the galley area of the Zvezda module, where a table has magnetic surfaces to hold down food packages, cutlery, and drink pouches. Crew members can eat together, sharing a meal the way families do on Earth, though the food may be floating slightly above the table, held down by Velcro or magnets. They eat using utensils much like those on Earth, though forks and spoons have magnets to keep them from drifting away. Interestingly, many astronauts report that their sense of taste changes in space. The fluid shift caused by microgravity, where blood and other fluids redistribute toward the head, gives many people a stuffy nose sensation. This can dull taste, making spicy foods particularly popular. Hot sauce is often requested. Strong flavors cut through the congestion better than bland ones. Fresh fruits and vegetables are a rare treat, delivered during resupply missions and consumed quickly before they spoil. The arrival of a cargo ship with fresh apples or oranges is cause for celebration, a reminder of Earth, gardens and orchards, of tastes that can't quite be replicated in packaged form. After breakfast comes work, and oh, what interesting work it is. The International Space Station is, first and foremost, a research laboratory. It's a place where experiments can be conducted in an environment that doesn't exist naturally on Earth, an environment of near constant freefall, what we call microgravity. Microgravity is not the absence of gravity. The station is still well within Earth's gravitational field. If gravity suddenly disappeared, the station would fly off into space in a straight line. Instead, the station and everything inside it are falling continuously toward Earth, but moving forward fast enough that they keep missing it, falling around the planet instead of into it. This creates what feels like weightlessness, where objects float not because there's no gravity, but because everything is falling at the same rate. This environment allows scientists to study things impossible to investigate on Earth. On Earth, gravity pulls heavier objects down and lighter ones up. Hot air rises, convection currents form, particles settle. In microgravity, these effects disappear or change dramatically, revealing underlying processes that are normally hidden. Flames, for instance, burn differently in microgravity. On Earth, hot gases rise, pulling fresh oxygen into the base of the flame and creating that familiar teardrop shape. In space, flames burn as spheres, expanding outward in all directions. They can burn cooler, and they reveal something called cool flames, a type of combustion that's almost impossible to study on Earth. Understanding how combustion works in microgravity helps engineers design better engines, both for spacecraft and for vehicles on Earth. Fluids behave strangely without gravity. Water doesn't pour, it forms spheres, held together by surface tension. Understanding how liquids behave in space is crucial for designing fuel tanks that work in orbit, cooling systems for spacecraft, and even systems for growing plants in space, where watering becomes a delicate challenge of managing liquid without letting it float away or form dangerous droplets. Protein crystal growth is another fascinating area of research. On Earth, when scientists try to grow large, pure protein crystals for studying their structure, gravity causes convection currents in the solution that can create imperfections. In microgravity, crystals can grow larger and more perfectly organized. These high-quality crystals can then be analyzed to understand the protein's exact structure, which can aid in developing new pharmaceuticals. Several drugs currently in development or already in use have benefited from protein research conducted on the space station. Materials science experiments take advantage of microgravity to create new alloys and study solidification processes. When metals cool and solidify on Earth, heavier components sink and lighter ones float, creating non-uniform materials. In space, this doesn't happen, allowing researchers to create metal alloys with properties that can't be achieved on Earth, or to study the fundamental physics of how atoms arrange themselves during solidification. Biology experiments abound on the station. Scientists grow plants to understand how they sense gravity and orient themselves. They study bacteria to see how microgravity affects their growth and antibiotic resistance. They examine how human cells behave, how tissues form, how the immune system changes. Many of these studies have direct implications for human health on Earth, because the effects of microgravity often mirror accelerated aging or disease processes. Astronauts themselves are subjects of study. Every person who lives on the station participates in research about how spaceflight affects the human body. They undergo tests before, during, and after their missions. Blood samples, urine samples, saliva samples, measurements of muscle mass, bone density, vision changes, cardiovascular function. Everything is tracked and analyzed. What scientists have learned is both fascinating and concerning. Microgravity causes muscles to atrophy if they're not used. Without the constant resistance of gravity, muscles weaken surprisingly quickly. Bones lose density, leaching calcium into the bloodstream at a rate that would cause severe osteoporosis in older adults on Earth, but which happens to healthy astronauts in just months in space. The heart becomes slightly more spherical, not having to pump as hard against gravity. Fluids shift upward, causing that stuffy nose sensation and putting pressure on the eyes, which can cause vision changes, a condition now called spaceflight-associated neuroocular syndrome. To combat these effects, exercise is mandatory. Every crew member spends at least 2 hours each day working out. The station has several exercise devices. There's a treadmill, though running in space requires being strapped down with bungee cords to provide resistance and keep you from floating away. There's a stationary bicycle, and there's the Advanced Resistive Exercise Device, a machine that uses vacuum cylinders to provide resistance for weightlifting exercises. Astronauts can squat hundreds of pounds, though those pounds don't weigh anything. The resistance comes from the machine, and the effort keeps their muscles and bones as healthy as possible. Exercise is also good for mental health. The monotony of routine, the isolation, the distance from family and friends, these can take a psychological toll. Exercise provides a break, a way to burn off stress and frustration, a familiar activity that connects them to their lives on Earth. But work on the station isn't all experiments and exercise. There's a tremendous amount of maintenance required to keep everything functioning. Air filters need to be cleaned or replaced. Equipment breaks down and needs repair. Software needs updating. Water reclamation systems need monitoring. The life support systems that keep air breathable and temperature comfortable require constant attention. And then there are spacewalks, extravehicular activities in the official terminology. These are scheduled when work needs to be done on the outside of the station, when new equipment needs to be installed, when batteries need replacing, when something breaks that can't be fixed from inside. Spacewalks are carefully choreographed events. Preparation begins hours before the hatch opens. Astronauts breathe pure oxygen to purge nitrogen from their bloodstreams, reducing the risk of decompression sickness when they transition to the lower pressure of their spacesuits. They put on the suits themselves, bulky affairs that provide pressure, temperature control, oxygen, communication, and protection from micrometeoroids and the harsh radiation environment of space. The suits are, in essence, personal spacecraft. They have to do everything the station does, but in miniature. Maintain pressure, provide breathable air, remove carbon dioxide, control temperature, protect from radiation. The backpack contains life support systems, oxygen tanks, carbon dioxide scrubbers, water cooling loops, batteries, and communication equipment. Once suited up, astronauts enter the airlock. The inner hatch closes behind them. Air is pumped out gradually until the airlock reaches vacuum. Then the outer hatch opens and they emerge into space. They're tethered to the station with cables, just in case, though their suits also have small propulsion systems for emergency use if they somehow come untethered. Imagine being out there. The station stretches around you, its modules and solar arrays forming a landscape of metal and golden panels. Above you, below you, there's no up or down, just Earth filling half your view, brilliant blue and white, slowly rotating. The other direction shows the black of space, deeper than any darkness you've experienced, punctuated by stars that don't twinkle because there's no atmosphere to disturb their light. Your suit makes it hard to move. Every motion requires effort, fighting against the pressure that keeps you alive. Your gloves are thick, making delicate work challenging. You can hear your own breathing, the hum of fans circulating air, occasionally the voice of your crewmate or mission control through your headset. And you work, slowly and carefully, because rushing in a spacesuit is both difficult and dangerous. You might spend hours installing a single piece of equipment, connecting cables, tightening bolts, everything verified and re-verified. And through it all, every 90 minutes, you experience another sunrise or sunset. The Earth turns beneath you, showing you oceans and continents, hurricanes and mountain ranges. You're moving so fast that your position over Earth changes constantly. You might begin your spacewalk over the Pacific and end it over Africa. And despite the work, despite the discomfort of the suit, despite the inherent danger of being in space with only a thin layer of material between you and vacuum, astronauts often describe spacewalks as the most profound experiences of their lives. When the work is done, they return to the airlock, close the outer hatch, and repressurize. They remove their suits, tired, sometimes sore, but usually exhilarated. They've just done something that fewer than 300 people in all of human history have experienced. They've walked in space. Back inside, life continues with its routines. There are always experiments to monitor, data to collect, systems to check. There are conference calls with mission control, daily planning meetings with the rest of the crew. There's email to read and respond to. There's exercise. There's housekeeping, because dust and debris still accumulate in space, and filters still need cleaning, and surfaces still need wiping down. But there's also personal time. A few hours each day where astronauts can do what they wish. Some read books or watch movies on their laptops. Some play musical instruments that they've brought along, guitars or keyboards, floating in their modules and playing songs for their own enjoyment or to share with Earth via video link. Some simply float in the cupola and watch the Earth pass beneath them. The cupola deserves special attention because it represents something essential about the human experience in space. It's not strictly necessary for the station's function. It's not a laboratory or a living quarter or a storage area. It's primarily a viewing platform, a place to see. And yet, its importance cannot be overstated. The psychological benefits of being able to see Earth, to watch the planet you come from turning beneath you, to witness the beauty of your home from this impossible vantage point. These benefits are profound. Astronauts speak about what's sometimes called the overview effect, a shift in perspective that comes from seeing Earth as a whole. Up here, national borders are invisible. Political conflicts seem absurd. The atmosphere looks impossibly thin, a fragile shell that contains all the air everything you've ever known has breathed. You can see storms brewing, forests burning, cities glowing in the night. You can see the seasons changing, ice growing and retreating, greens spreading across continents in spring. Many astronauts return from space with a deeper environmental consciousness, a stronger sense of our shared humanity, a conviction that we need to take better care of our planet, because from up here, it's heartbreakingly clear that it's the only home we have, at least for now. The borders we draw, the differences we emphasize, the conflicts we engage in, they all seem smaller when viewed from 240 miles up. The photographs that astronauts take through the cupola's windows have become one of the station's greatest gifts to Earth. They document our planet with an intimacy and beauty that satellites alone can't capture. They show the human perspective, the choice to photograph this particular glacier or that specific city at night. They capture moments, the exact instant when sunset light catches the Earth's limb in just the right way, creating that magnificent, thin blue line. These images are shared freely with the world. You can browse them online, thousands upon thousands of photographs taken over decades. Each one is a reminder that while nations and space agencies may fund and build the station, the view from it belongs to everyone. It's our planet in those photographs, our clouds and oceans and mountains, our home, seen from humanity's outpost above. Communication with Earth is constant. The station has high-speed internet connection when it's in range of NASA's tracking and data relay satellite system. Astronauts can send emails, make phone calls, even video chat with their families. These calls are scheduled and precious. Imagine being away from everyone you love for 6 months. Imagine not being able to hug your children or kiss your partner or sit across from your parents at dinner. These video calls become lifelines, windows connecting two worlds. There's also ham radio equipment on the station, and astronauts sometimes use it to talk with schools on Earth. Imagine being a student in a classroom when suddenly you're talking to someone floating 240 miles above you, asking them what it's like to be in space, hearing their answers in real time. It's a connection that inspires, that makes space feel not quite so far away. The station receives regular resupply missions. Cargo spacecraft launch from Earth, carrying food, water, oxygen, spare parts, new equipment, personal items for the crew. Some are automated, like the Russian Progress spacecraft or SpaceX's Dragon cargo vehicles. Others, like the crewed Dragon or Soyuz, bring new crew members and take returning ones home. These arrivals are events. The crew watches through the cupola as the spacecraft approaches, a bright speck growing larger against the black of space. Sometimes the cargo ship docks automatically. Other times, astronauts use the Canadarm2 to capture it, the robotic arm reaching out to grapple the vehicle and carefully berth it to a docking port. Once attached and pressurized, the hatch opens, and there's the excitement of unpacking. Fresh food arrives, always welcome. New experiments are carefully removed from their packaging. Personal items, care packages from family, letters, photographs, special treats. These small connections to Earth mean more than might be obvious. When you're isolated in a place this unique, small reminders of home carry tremendous emotional weight. The cargo ships also take away trash and used equipment. When their mission is complete, they're filled with waste, undocked, and commanded to re-enter Earth's atmosphere, where they burn up over the ocean. It's an expensive way to take out the trash, but it's currently the only option. Throughout all of this, the station continues its orbit, continues its journey around the Earth. It travels the equivalent distance to the Moon and back, approximately once per day. In the years since construction began, it has orbited Earth more than 100,000 times, covering billions of miles while never moving more than a few hundred miles from where it started. The station's orbit gradually decays. Even at 400 kilometers up, there are still trace amounts of atmosphere, enough to create very slight drag. Over time, this drag slows the station, causing its orbit to lower. To compensate, the station periodically fires engines to boost itself back up. These reboost maneuvers use either the station's own thrusters or engines on docked cargo vehicles. Without these regular boosts, the station would eventually re-enter the atmosphere. The orbit is also inclined 51.6 degrees to the equator. This inclination was chosen as a compromise between partners. A higher inclination would make launches from Russian sites more efficient, but require more fuel for American launches. A lower one would favor American launches, but penalize Russian ones. 51.6 degrees was the diplomatic middle ground, allowing both to launch efficiently, while also giving the station's orbit a path that covers most of the inhabited world. This path means the station passes over different regions at different times. If you're patient and know when and where to look, you can see it from Earth. It appears as a bright, steady light moving smoothly across the sky, taking several minutes to traverse from horizon to horizon. It doesn't blink like an airplane. It doesn't move as slowly as a satellite tumbling in higher orbit. It's distinctly fast, distinctly bright, and distinctly magical if you know what you're seeing. There are websites and apps that will tell you exactly when the station will pass over your location. The best times are just after sunset or just before sunrise, when the sky is dark but the station is still in sunlight, making it shine brilliantly against the darkening sky. Seeing it, knowing that there are people aboard, living their temporary lives in that point of moving light, creates a connection that's hard to describe but deeply felt. The station has hosted more than 250 people from 20 different countries. Some have visited for just a few days, others have stayed for months at a time. The current record for a single stay is over a year, when astronauts Scott Kelly and Mikhail Kornienko lived aboard for 340 consecutive days as part of a study on long-duration spaceflight. The longest cumulative time in space belongs to Russian cosmonaut Oleg Kononenko, who has spent more than 1,000 days across multiple missions. Each crew brings their own personality to the station. Some play musical instruments, some exercise more than the minimum required. Some take thousands of photographs, some bring pranks and jokes. Some are more serious, more focused on work. But all of them contribute to the culture of this place, to the feeling that, despite the isolation and the distance from Earth, the station is a home, temporary but real. Living in space changes people, not just physiologically, though those changes are significant, but psychologically and philosophically. You gain perspective on what matters. You learn to appreciate small things, the taste of fresh fruit, a conversation with family, the sight of Earth at sunset. You learn patience, because in space you can't rush, can't let frustration lead to mistakes. You learn to work with people from different cultures, different languages, different backgrounds, because your survival depends on cooperation and mutual support. Astronauts often speak about the sense of being one crew, one team, regardless of what country they launched from or which agency employs them. When you're living in a small space, dependent on each other for safety and sanity, differences that might seem important on Earth fade away. You're not Russian or American or European or Japanese. You're crew. You're human. You're in this together. The research conducted on the station continues to expand our knowledge in countless ways. Studies of tissue chips, miniature models of human organs, show how microgravity affects different body systems and may lead to new treatments for diseases on Earth. Research into colloids and foams improves products like shampoos and cosmetics. Studies of mud flows help predict disasters after wildfires. Investigations into bone loss and muscle atrophy inform treatments for osteoporosis and age-related frailty. The list goes on and on. The station serves as a testbed for technologies needed for future exploration. Systems developed for recycling water on the station are now being adapted to provide clean water in remote or disaster-affected areas on Earth. Life support systems tested here inform designs for future missions to the Moon and Mars. The experience gained in assembling the station, in maintaining it, in living aboard it for months at a time, all of this knowledge will be essential when humans eventually venture farther into the solar system. But perhaps the station's greatest contribution is less tangible. It's proof that international cooperation in space is possible, that nations which once aimed nuclear weapons at each other can work together toward common goals, that we can build something complex and beautiful and useful together, that space doesn't have to be a domain of competition and conflict, but can be a place of collaboration and shared achievement. This matters more than we might realize. The challenges facing humanity in the coming decades, climate change, resource depletion, pandemic diseases, these are global challenges that require global cooperation. The International Space Station demonstrates that such cooperation is possible, that nations can pool their resources and expertise, that we can accomplish together what none of us could achieve alone. There are currently discussions about the future of the station. It won't last forever. Equipment ages, systems wear out, and eventually the cost of maintaining it will exceed the benefits of keeping it operational. Current plans suggest the station may be decommissioned sometime in the early 2030s, though those plans are constantly under review. When that time comes, the station will be carefully deorbited, commanded to re-enter the atmosphere over a remote area of ocean, where whatever doesn't burn up will sink harmlessly into deep water. But the end of this particular station doesn't mean the end of human presence in low Earth orbit. Commercial space stations are already being planned. New laboratories will be built, and the lessons learned from the International Space Station will inform those future outposts. We've learned how to keep people alive and healthy in space for extended periods. We've learned what it takes to maintain complex systems in orbit. We've learned how to conduct meaningful research in microgravity. All of this knowledge will carry forward. And beyond low Earth orbit, attention is already turning to the Moon and Mars. NASA's Artemis program aims to establish a permanent presence on the lunar surface. The lessons from the station about life support, about crew psychology, about international cooperation, all of these will be essential. The station has been in many ways a proving ground for deeper space exploration. It's where we've learned to live off Earth, even if only a few hundred miles up. As you drift towards sleep tonight, perhaps you might take a moment to think about the station, to imagine it up there, circling above you. Right now, as you listen to these words, it might be passing over your continent, or approaching it, or just leaving it behind. The crew might be eating dinner, or exercising, or working on an experiment, or floating in the cupola, watching Earth turn beneath them. They might be sleeping, secured in their compartments, dreaming dreams we can only guess at. They might be outside on a spacewalk, working in vacuum while the planet rotates below. In a few hours, they'll see 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets. They'll orbit Earth 16 times. They'll cross oceans and continents, deserts and forests, day and night. And through it all, they'll be doing work that benefits all of us, research that pushes forward our understanding, experiments that may lead to new medicines or new technologies, or simply deeper knowledge of how the universe works. The International Space Station is many things. It's a laboratory and a home. It's an engineering marvel and a diplomatic achievement. It's a platform for science and a window on wonder. But perhaps most importantly, it's a reminder of what we're capable of when we work together. When we set aside our differences and focus on common goals. When we reach beyond our immediate needs and invest in knowledge and exploration and the future. We built a house in space. We filled it with people. We've kept those people alive and safe for more than 25 years. We've conducted thousands of experiments. We've taken millions of photographs. We've inspired countless students to pursue science and engineering. We've shown that space doesn't have to divide us, but can unite us. And all of this remarkable achievement, circles above us even now, traveling at 5 miles per second, catching sunlight on its golden solar arrays, inhabited by humans living one of the most unusual lives imaginable, contributing their time and effort and courage to something greater than themselves. So, as you settle into sleep, as your breathing slows and your mind begins to drift, perhaps you can carry with you the thought of that station above, that bright point of light that sometimes graces our evening skies, that home away from home where humans work and sleep and dream, that testament to cooperation and curiosity and the endless human drive to explore, to discover, to understand our place in this vast cosmos. Thank you for listening tonight. Whether you're still wide awake, gently drowsy, or already halfway into dreams, we've traveled together through the story of humanity's outpost above the world. We've explored its modules and marveled at its windows. We've followed its orbit through 16 days compressed into one. We've met the people who call it home, however briefly, and considered what it means that such a place exists at all. Remember that you don't need to hold on to every detail, every number, every name. What matters is the feeling, the sense of wonder, the quiet appreciation for what humans can accomplish when they work together towards something meaningful. The International Space Station isn't just metal and modules. It's possibility made real. It's a dream that refuses to be confined by gravity. And now, it's time to let those thoughts settle gently, like dust in still air. Time to release the day and all its concerns. You've done enough for today. You've listened and learned, and let your imagination drift upward to that remarkable place that circles above us. That's enough. More than enough. Close your eyes now. Feel the weight of your body against whatever surface supports you. Feel the gentle rhythm of your breathing. Feel yourself here, safe and comfortable, while above you, the station continues its endless orbit, and the crew continues their work, and Earth continues to turn beneath them all. You are here. You are safe. You are exactly where you need to be. And somewhere above, moving faster than thought, that bright point of light continues its journey, carrying people and dreams and the hope that we can build a future worth reaching for. From the sleepy library, good night. May your dreams be peaceful, and may you wake refreshed, knowing that humans have built a home among the stars, and it's still there, still circling, still calling us upward toward the future. Sleep well,